lecture. So this is the file called Overrides. It's in week 15. You can download it if you want to play along at home. So this is my extremely boring, very boring layout. I was playing around with the body copy and the performances copy. I added extra letter spacing. This is the letter spacing here. You can see I added 150 letter spacing to the performances, and it looks terrible. And I decided to see what the body copy would look like as Times New Roman bold instead of, and 15 point, my goodness, instead of this nice readable 11 or 12 point Garamond. This is terrible. I hate it. So if I come over here to the paragraph styles, I think you can see the plus sign. That is the machine's way of saying to me, you changed, you went off script from the paragraph style. To get back to where I was, I come up here and I say, clear the override. And don't worry about this. What's happening is this is a screen redraw issue. If you zoom in or zoom out, it'll correct itself. You can see it's back to 14 point Garamond on 18 point lead. I'll do it again. So again, performance states. I added all this extra letter spacing. It is absolutely not working. Clear that override. And by the way, if you have added a dark background and you made all of your type white, you're going to need to go in and fix that override. You're going to need to fix this. Here's how you do it. Let's say that I want to keep, I changed the name and the composer from Franklin Gothic Light, because Franklin Gothic Light doesn't have an italic, and I want to put this in italic. So I changed it to Big Caslon Medium, which does have an italic. And I want to make sure that this happens everywhere in the file that I have used this headline. So this time I want to keep the change. So again, I come up to the submenu, but this time I say redefine the style. In other words, pick up this change and make it the style sheet. And I think you can see all the way through, I've changed that. And just say, hey, and by the way, Giuseppe Verdi is all in caps. So I'm going to come up here to type, and I'm going to come down to change case, and I'm going to go from uppercase to title case. Okay, I'm going to change that too. And then I'm going to go in and do this. I could use a character style, or I could come into Big Caslon and I could italicize it. All right, so I need to make all of the opera names italic. Don't forget to do that. We talked about that. Opera names are in italic. Okay, so that's taken care of the overrides. Basically, to recap, I have two choices. I can accept the override, which is redefine the style, and it brings it in, or I can reject the override, which is clear the overrides, and that clears it out. You don't want to have a ton of overrides on your copy, because the more changes that you make and the more overrides that you get, the more kind of perverted, the type gets, like the more distorted it gets, until finally you start to make changes in your paragraph style and it doesn't take. And as I said in class, with 6 things on the page, that's unfortunate. With 100 things in the document, that's a tragedy, because you're going to end up with lots and lots of mistakes. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. I would like the magic flute to be on a separate line from Mozart's. This is called breaking for sense. When I read this out loud, I say Mozart's the magic flute. You hear the pause in there when I say that. So I want there to be a pause in my layout. So I am going to set my cursor here. Watch, I'm going to come out of preview mode so that you can see this. There's the Pilcrow, there's the hard return. This is a space. I'm going to grab it, I'm going to put one finger on the shift key and one finger on the return key. And there, I've done a soft return. Now, you say to me, Chris, why not just hit the return key? Well, if I go back, the answer is this paragraph style has extra space built into it. It has a space after of 5 points. So if I just hit the hard return key, can you see that extra space? I don't want that. I want the lead to be nice and tight to each other. So I will do a soft return, and to InDesign, even though I have inserted, this is what the soft return looks like, InDesign still thinks this is one single paragraph. It doesn't really see the soft return. And so I can go in and I can fix this. So far so good. And you can see most of the other ones I have already done this. I want to be consistent. Let's talk about the rag. This is flush left, rag right. And it's pretty bad. I have short words at the end of the lines. That's a no-no. I have a double hyphenation, for heaven's sakes. That is unheard of. I have another short word here. Look at this. I'm hyphenating a name and something that begins with a capital letter. This is all bad. So I'm going to take some time. I'm going to put in a soft return, shift return, soft return, shift return, soft return. I absolutely do not want to split the woman's name. Shift return. And you break after the punctuation. So this is the M dash. I break after the M dash. And then I don't want to break Lion King, so I put this here. That's not bad. That's a better break than the one I had. No short words, no hyphenations. Everything makes sense. I can read this and I'm not hiccuping because of all the weirdness that's going on. But do you see the line, how it kind of goes in like this? I think I'd like it to go in and out and in and out. So in order to do that, I'm going to grab this line. I'm going to come up here to the letter spacing control. And I'm going to add, I would never do more than 20. Okay? So I've added 20 letter spacing. 20 is about as far as you can go. And now I have this rhythm. A short line, a long line, a short line, a longer line, a short line, and then this line here. And for this last line, when I get done with all of my breaks, I want at least 2 words in the last line. Try not to have one word hanging out by itself in the last line. Okay, so now I'm committed. I'm going to go through. This is a short line. I don't like it. Now, this is a hyphen. Prize winning is already hyphenated, so I can go ahead and put the hyphen in there. You can go. This is a short word. You can go. I'm going to put comic book down at the bottom. This isn't bad. You see how short this line is? I'm going to come in here and cheat this back out. Oops. 20 is as far as I'll go. So this is still sticking out, so I'll cheat this one in. -10. -10 is as far as I go. You don't want to overkern your typo. You don't want to over press your type. It has to be readable. And I'm going to go through the whole file that way. Now, if I wanted to make my life a little bit easier, there's something else that I can do. I can either go into paragraph styles, or I can go into paragraph. The control is in both places. It's called hyphenation, and here it is. So if I want to just turn hyphenation off in the body style, I'll do this in the paragraph style. I'm going to double click. Hyphenation is here. I can choose to only hyphenate long words. I think in class I said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's a good word to hyphenate. A word with only 5 letters, that's too short because you're going to end up with super short hyphenations and it's going to look funky. I can decide don't hyphenate any capital words. Don't hyphenate the last word. Never hyphenate across a column. I can choose between better spacing, which gives me more hyphens, or fewer hyphens, which means I have to sweat the spacing. Or I can just say the heck with it and turn hyphenation off altogether. Now, when I do this, the type is going to change pretty radically. You can see I don't have a single hyphenation now in my body copy. But boy, I've got some funky breaks here. I got to fix this. Soft return. That's not bad. Push that one out. pull that one in. I'm going to go through the whole file, and I'm going to clean all of this stuff up. And then I'm probably going to get a little fancy-pantsy. Soft return. Soft return. I'm just doing this because I want to. You don't have to do this. But what I like about this is if I have March on one line and April on another, it makes it easier for the reader to understand. There are 2 performances in March and there are 4 performances in April. Everything I do goes back to making this a pleasurable experience for the reader. Okay? So that's, we've talked about overrides, and we've talked about how to clear overrides, how to refine styles. We've talked about soft returns versus hard returns. We've talked about kind of sculpting the copy. We call this breaking for sense. And we've learned how to turn off hyphenation. If you have any questions at all, I want you to let me know.